Okay, I've been through like 5 outfits. I mean, I think every time I get ready, I go through like 5 different outfits, a bunch of hats because my hair isn't done and so I look nappy. And of course, trying to figure out different things to wear. How do I look? I mean, this is all such important things. I got my Ultra Boosts out, because you gotta look clean whenever you're gonna preach somewhere. I mean, I like to go ripped jeans sometimes or like sweat. I don't know. I mean, this is all such important questions. And I always find myself asking, like, does image matter? I mean, how do I look? I go through so many different combinations and stuff like that. Really trying to aim at the question, do I look good? I'm trying to look good, whenever I'm walking or when people see me. And I mean, this peeps into every thought of life that I have. And so the question that we're leaving today is, does image really matter? Roll intro. Hey, what's going on, Young Preacher? So glad you're watching another episode of Dear Young Preacher. My name is Benji, and Dear Young Preacher is simply thoughts and experiences from one young preacher to another. I don't have all the answers, but I've definitely been experienced and privileged enough to see a lot of things in ministry. And so I'm partnering with you guys to really just talk about my experience. Today, we are talking about and answering the question, does image really matter? Image, the thing that we all think about, in the back of our heads, especially as a preacher. I remember my freshman year of college and really just always going to parties and preaching one night and then going to a party after. I don't know why. I wasn't saved yet, apparently. But I preached one night on campus and then went to a party with some friends after. And they began to be like, hey, Pastor Benji is here. And it was the most uncomfortable thing in the world. Like, oh my gosh, how are you gonna call me pastor at a party? This is weird, I'm just Benji. And I recognized from that image is so important. How could I be proclaiming God one moment, but then be in a certain area and space that I shouldn't be the next moment? And so many people were equating me with the party scene. And I began to recognize that it almost was like doing me a disservice to go to the parties. In terms of image, in terms of appearance, it was actually disserving my ministry and disserving my influence and capability to reach others because I was going to parties. So what I did, the rest of the year, I stopped going to parties. I stopped, hanging around certain people because I was like, my potential and my purpose and where I feel like God is calling me can't be limited or, hindered because of the following and the people that I surround myself with. So I stopped going to parties and then my image began to change. Philippians 1:27 says, conduct yourself in a manner worthy of the gospel. That alone says it clearly. Image does matter. The way you conduct yourself, the way you allow others to perceive you, it is really important. You can't hang around certain people. You can't do certain things. I remember going and hearing a pastor preach, and he was like, he remembered his grandma always saying to him, he couldn't do everything else that all the other kids were doing because he was set apart. And we live in a generation almost now, millennials. Yes, I'm doing the huge stereotypical thing. We love to say we're all in this together and we're all the same. And this is true, but there is an aspect of young preachers and leaders that if you're set apart and called by God, that you do have to separate from the crowd a bit. You do have to stay away. You do have to stand in knowing what's right and what's wrong. And so image does matter. Think about it. John the Baptist wasn't baptizing people on Sunday and then at the club with Mary Saturday night. It just doesn't go. It's like people wouldn't believe him. This dude was wearing sackcloth and ashes, eating bugs. It was like, he was like, listen, I need to set myself apart because, I am called by God. Image does matter. But, one thing I do want to warn against, and one thing that has definitely been a personal battle for myself, is maintaining this, outward image, but then internally you're broken. And so I'd like to say image matters and, what I look like matters on the outside. And so I'm going to make myself appear a certain way, but I want my heart to align that same path. God isn't just cared about what the external is, but he cares about your heart, your internal. And when we just limit it to external, like not going to parties, not doing drugs, not doing certain things, then it's like, that's when we become legalistic. Because we're like, okay, no one sees I'm not doing these things, and so everyone thinks I'm doing well. But really on the inside, we could be so broken. I mean, God cares about the heart. Jesus cares about the internal things. And so yes, image matters on the external, but you also got to check the internal too. No one is more righteous. No one is more holy. And we're in this process of sanctification. So yes, image does matter. Image 100% matters, but also make sure your heart is in the right place too. Thank you. Hey, what's going on, young preacher? So glad you got to watch and hear me share a bit about my personal story with going to parties and, hanging with certain people. Really hope that encouraged you. Really hope that inspired you. One thing that I've been so encouraged by is when people reach out to me and say, wow, this really means something to me. You might have just affected one person, but that one person is me. And I want you to comment if that's you. I want you to email me. I want you to text me, respond on the socials. Do what you gotta do, but I'd love to know and love to journey with you through this. Nonetheless, as always, check out this video. Got some great content and would love for you to check it out. Grace and peace.